You have been lied to. Not by a stranger, not by a bad review, but by a bottle. A bottle with a beautiful label, a satisfying weight in your hand, and a price tag that made you feel like you were doing something right. But the whiskey inside told a completely different story. Today we are pulling back the curtain on 5 of the most overrated whiskies on the planet. Bottles that coast on reputation, while smaller distilleries quietly outperform them for half the money. And for every offender on this list, we are giving you a better bottle to buy instead, one that actually respects your palate and your wallet. Let us get into it. Number 5, Glenfiddich 18-year-old. Let us start with the most famous name in single malt. Glenfiddich is the best-selling single malt in the world. Year after year, it shifts more cases than any of its competitors. And that scale is exactly the problem. When you are producing whiskey at that volume, something has to give. And with the 18-year-old, what gives is everything a whiskey at this price should be delivering. You are paying somewhere between $120 and $180 for a bottle that is bottled at 40% alcohol by volume in the UK market. The US version creeps up to 43%, but it is still chill filtered regardless of which side of the Atlantic you buy it on. Chill filtration is the process distilleries use to remove the natural oils and fatty acids from whiskey before bottling. They do it so the whiskey does not go cloudy when you add ice or water. The problem is those oils and fatty acids are flavor. When you remove them, you are thinning the whiskey out, stripping texture and mouthfeel that took 18 years to develop inside that barrel. You paid for 18 years of complexity, and the distillery filtered a chunk of it out before it reached your glass. Multiple critics reviewing recent releases have described the current expression as feeling diminished compared to older bottlings of the same whiskey. One reviewer used the words anemic and fragile. Those are not words you want attached to a bottle in this price bracket. Here is the kicker. Glenfiddich's own 15-year-old, which uses their unique Solera vatting system, consistently outperforms the 18 in blind tastings and costs around half the price. When your cheaper bottle beats your flagship, something has gone seriously wrong. Buy this instead, the Glenallachie 12-year-old. This is not a small recommendation. The Glenallachie 12 just won World's Best Single Malt at the World Whiskies Awards. Not best value. Not best under $50. Best single malt on the planet. And you can find it for around $50. The distillery is run by Billy Walker, who previously transformed GlenDronach into the cult whiskey it is today. He applied that same obsession with quality sherry cask maturation to Glenallachie, and the results speak for themselves. You get dark chocolate, stewed fruits, baking spice, and a depth of richness that normally requires bottles costing 3 times as much. Buy 2 bottles of Glenallachie for the cost of 1 Glenfiddich 18 and you will never look back. Number 4, Johnnie Walker Blue Label. There is no bottle on this list that does a better job of selling an idea rather than a liquid. Blue Label is a masterpiece of marketing. The deep blue box, the gold lettering, the weight of the glass. Everything about this bottle has been designed to make you feel like you are holding something extraordinary before you have even cracked the seal. The problem is what happens after you do. Blue Label is bottled at 40% alcohol by volume, the legal minimum. It is chill filtered. It is colored with caramel to achieve that perfect amber glow. The result is a blend so smooth and so inoffensive that it essentially disappears from your palate before you have time to form an opinion about it. Some whiskey writers have described it as engineered to avoid being memorable. And at around $200 a bottle, memorable is the bare minimum you should expect. Diageo sells more than 1 million cases of Blue Label every year, not because the whiskey inside is exceptional, but because the packaging makes a statement at a dinner party or a boardroom. The status is real. The whiskey is fine. Fine is not a word that should follow a $200 price tag. Buy this instead. Monkey Shoulder. Stay with me on this one. Monkey Shoulder is a blended malt that combines 3 Speyside single malts, Glenfiddich, Balvenie and Kinninvie, all aged in first fill bourbon casks before being blended in small batches. According to the Drinks International Brands report, bartenders at the world's top bars name Monkey Shoulder the best-selling scotch. It beat Johnnie Walker. The people whose job it is to pour and taste whiskey every single day chose this over the most famous Scotch brand on the planet. It costs around $30 to $35. It delivers creamy vanilla, a hit of orange, and a smooth finish that works just as beautifully neat as it does in a cocktail. For the price of one blue label, you could buy 6 bottles of Monkey Shoulder and host the best drinks party your friends have ever attended. Number 3, Macallan 12 Double Cask. Here is where things get a little uncomfortable because Macallan is genuinely special at the top of their range. The older, rarer expressions are legitimate collector's items with flavour profiles that justify serious money. But the 12 Double Cask is where the Macallan brand tax hits hardest and hurts most. This bottle retails between $80 and $100 on most shelves, sometimes higher. And for that money, you're getting a 12-year-old Speyside single malt, bottled at 40% alcohol by volume, chill-filtered and leaning heavily on a sherry-driven profile that is pleasant, approachable, and genuinely nothing you cannot find for half the price elsewhere. Industry estimates put the actual production cost of a 12-year-old Speyside single malt at around £11 to £22 a bottle. The rest of what you pay for a Macallan 12 is pure brand. It is the label, the reputation, the auction hype, and the way the bottle looks on a shelf. Macallan's parent company has spent decades building the brand into a luxury status symbol, particularly in Asian markets where collectors treat certain bottles like blue-chip investments. That strategy has been brilliant for the company. It has been brutal for anyone who just wants a great sherry cask whiskey without paying a fortune for the privilege of owning the right label. Because here is the thing, the sherry cask whiskey you are actually tasting inside that bottle is not $80 better than its competitors. It is just $80 more expensive. Buy this instead. Glendronach 12-year-old. Glendronach uses exclusively Pedro Jimenez and Oloroso sherry casks. No bourbon casks involved at any stage. No finishing tricks. Just pure, uninterrupted sherry influence from the moment the spirit goes into wood to the moment it comes out. That is the exact same philosophy Macallan built its reputation on, and Glendronach executes it brilliantly. Spiced raisins, dark chocolate, hazelnuts, dried fruit, and a richness that coats your mouth the way a properly sherried whiskey should. It costs around $45. Spirit Animal reviewed both bottles side by side and said Glendronach 12 is better than Macallan 12 in flavour and in price. The Whiskey Wash published a piece listing 5 premium sherry whiskies that outperform Macallan 12 for half the cost, and Glendronach was on it. If you are a sherry cask fan and you are still paying Macallan prices, you are leaving serious money on the table. Number 2, the Dalmore 12-year-old. Walk into any whiskey aisle and the Dalmore commands your attention. The deep mahogany colour in the bottle, the silver stag bolted to the glass. The overall impression of richness and decadence before you have spent a penny. It looks expensive, it looks sophisticated, it looks like it should taste extraordinary. And that, unfortunately, is the entire point. Dalmore openly admits to using E150A caramel colouring to achieve that signature deep hue. The colour in the bottle is not the result of exceptional cask selection or unusual maturation. It is a food additive. Before the whiskey even touches your palate, you have already been deceived about what you are looking at. And then the liquid itself. It is bottled at 40% alcohol by volume and it is chill filtered, which means the texture is thinner than the colour and the packaging suggest. You are essentially paying for an illusion, a bottle designed to look like a much more premium product than it actually is. The frustrating part is that the marketing works. The Dalmore sells extremely well precisely because it looks the part. And for around $45 to $55, there are buyers who feel they are getting something luxurious. But those specs, 40% chill-filtered, artificially coloured, tell you everything you need to know about where the distillery's priorities actually sit. Buy this instead. Bunnahabhain 12-year-old. Bunnahabhain is an Islay distillery, and if that immediately makes you think of heavy peat smoke, think again. This expression is unpeated, which makes it one of the most approachable and misunderstood bottles from the island. It is bottled at 46.3% alcohol by volume. It is non-chill filtered. There is no caramel colouring involved at any stage. What you get in the bottle is exactly what came out of the cask. Nothing stripped away, nothing artificially added. The natural oils and fatty acids that chill filtration destroys are still present, giving it a creamy, almost waxy mouthfeel that feels genuinely luxurious in a way Dalmore's packaging only promises. Caramel, toasted nuts, dried fruit, and a subtle coastal salinity that reminds you this whiskey was made on an island. The Bunnahabhain 12 won Best in Show at the 2024 TAG Global Spirits Awards. At around $50 to $55, it is the honest whiskey Dalmore wishes it was. Number 1. Chivas Regal 12-year-old. There is a particular kind of bottle that survives on inertia. It does not need to be remarkable. It does not need to earn its place on the shelf each year. It just needs to have been there long enough that people reach for it automatically. Chivas Regal 12 is that bottle. It sits on every supermarket shelf wrapped in gold branding and dressed up to suggest something refined and considered. What you actually get is a blended scotch that delivers a grainy, metallic profile with barely enough personality to stand out even in a mixed drink. The flavour disappears quickly, the finish is short. There's nothing offensive about it, but there's nothing memorable either. And at around $35 to $40, memorable is not too much to ask. This is a bottle designed for people who want the idea of good scotch without doing the work of finding it. The branding does the heavy lifting. The liquid takes a day off. It is not that Chivas 12 is terrible, it is that it is profoundly average and charges you a premium to be exactly that. When you can pour this for guests and the most honest thing you can say about their reaction is that nobody complained, you're not getting value. You are getting marketing. The bigger problem with Chivas 12 is the opportunity cost. Every time someone new to Scotch picks this bottle up, they are missing a world of genuinely exciting whiskey that exists at the same price or less. They try it, find it underwhelming, and sometimes write off the entire category because of it. That is the real damage that a mediocre bottle with a strong brand does to the wider whiskey world. Buy this instead. Loch Lomond 12-year-old. Loch Lomond is one of the best kept secrets in affordable Scotch. The distillery owns a genuinely unusual set of stills, including straight neck designs that allow them to produce an enormous range of different spirit styles under one roof. Most distilleries are locked into one flavour profile by the shape and size of their equipment. Loch Lomond can produce half a dozen. The 12-year-old is bottled at 46% alcohol by volume, which already puts it ahead of Chivas on both proof and intensity. It delivers rich chocolate, dried orchard fruit, honey, ginger, and a faint wisp of smoke that keeps things interesting without overwhelming anything. The finish has real length, and the whole experience has a complexity that makes you feel like the distillery is actually trying to impress you. In 2019, it took home gold at the International Wine and Spirit Competition, beating out bottles at twice the price. And you can still find it for somewhere between $35 and $45. The only reason more people have not discovered this bottle is that Loch Lomond does not have the marketing budget to compete with the big names. They put that money into the whiskey instead, and you can taste exactly where it went. So there it is, 5 bottles that trade on reputation and 5 that earn their place in your glass. The pattern across every single entry on this list is the same. The overrated bottles are bottled at the legal minimum, run through chill filtration, and dressed up with caramel colouring and heavy marketing spend. The better bottles are higher proof, naturally coloured, non-chill filtered, and made by distilleries that would rather impress you with the liquid than the label. The good news is this: you do not have to spend more to drink better. In almost every case on this list, the recommended bottle costs the same or less than the overrated one it replaces. Glenfiddich 12 costs less than Glenfiddich 18. Monkey Shoulder costs a fraction of Blue Label. Glendronach 12 costs almost half of Macallan 12. Bunnahabhain 12 sits at a similar price to Dalmore. And Loch Lomond 12 matches Chivas or beats it. The money is not the variable here, the knowledge is. Every time you reach for a familiar label without thinking about what is actually inside the bottle, you are paying a brand tax. And the brand tax in whiskey can be significant. The bottles we recommended today are not hidden because they are inferior. They are hidden because smaller distilleries cannot outspend the giants on advertising. That gap between what is marketed heavily and what actually tastes best is where the real value in whiskey lives. And now you know exactly where to look. Next time you are standing in that whiskey aisle, take 10 extra seconds before you reach for the familiar bottle. Check the proof. Check whether it says non-chill filtered on the label. Check whether it mentions natural color. Those 3 things will tell you more about what is actually inside than any amount of gold packaging or heritage storytelling ever will. The best whiskey is not the one with the best story on the label. It is the one with the best story in your glass. Thanks for watching, and please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed that. Until then, see you in the next one.